She turned the wedding band inward before the car finished the second curve. Amani Carter, 28, Paris-trained fashion designer, black, beautiful, walked into a mountain mansion in an emerald green dress and a diamond hidden against her palm. 23 hours earlier, she had signed the civil registry. 23 hours earlier, she had become a king. Nobody at the top of that mountain knew it yet. Across from her at the threshold stood Kang Yoon-siu, 55, sheath dress so black it looked wet, 2 strands of pearls. The mother of Kang Min-ho, heir to the syndicate, the one they called the Quiet One. The dragon coiled up the right side of his neck under a graphite shirt. The smile came first. It did not reach the eyes. What a surprise! A colorful one, the aunt echoed. The doors opened on their own. Cold air poured out of the house onto the warm mountain morning. Amani crossed the threshold and felt the temperature drop 10 degrees in a single step. Minho's hand pressed her fingers once, until the coffee. 3 women at the table, 1 folded paper in an inside pocket, and a sentence already waiting on Yoonso's tongue that would change the temperature of the room forever. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. Amani turned the wedding band inward before the car finished the second curve. The diamond sat hidden against her palm now, biting the skin every time she closed her fist. She closed her fist 3 times in a row. The black sedan kept climbing the mountain road, cream leather warm against the back of her emerald green dress, the driver's eyes never lifting to the mirror. Minho watched her hand without turning his head. He said nothing for a long minute. Then, in the low voice he only used in private rooms, he said one word. "Breathe. I am breathing. You're holding it." She let the air out. The mountain pines opened on her right, and through the trees she caught the first sharp angles of the house. Black stone, sheets of glass, no curve anywhere. A house designed by people who did not believe in softness. "Your mother knows we're coming." "My mother knows a fiancé is coming." "That's not what I asked." He turned to her then, sharp jaw, smooth skin, the top button of his graphite shirt undone, so the coiled tail of the dragon tattoo showed at the right of his neck. The head still hidden under fabric, the way he liked it. Cold calculated in public, warm only here, inches from her face. "She knows what I told her. That's enough until the coffee." "Until the coffee. Trust me until the coffee." She looked down at her own hand again. The band still turned inward. The skin of her ring finger already darker where the gold pressed. 23 hours married. She had signed the paper at the civil registry the day before, in the white dress folded now in a drawer 2 cities away, and she had walked out of that office a Kang. Nobody at the top of this mountain knew it yet. The driver took the last curve. The mansion came whole through the windshield, 3 floors of black stone and floor-to-ceiling glass. A pine garden combed like hair, the morning mountain light cutting flat across everything. No color anywhere, not one warm tone. Even the gravel of the drive had been chosen gray. Minho's hand found her knee. He squeezed once. He did not look at her when he did it. "Green." "What?" "You're green, they're black, gray, beige. Walk in like you chose the color." She almost laughed. She bit it down at the last second because the car was already slowing, and through the front window 2 women had stepped out under the entrance overhang, and she understood that the laugh would not be allowed inside that door. The taller one stood in the front. Yoon-siu, 55, a sheath dress so black it looked wet, 2 strands of pearls catching the cold light at her throat, hair cut sharp at the chin, mouth painted the color of dark wine. Behind her, half a step to the left, the other one, Hyrin, the aunt, gray dress and jade at the collarbone, hands folded one over the other like a nurse at a wake. Amani stepped out of the car. The heel of her nude shoe hit the gravel and held. She did not adjust the dress. She did not check her hair. She lifted her chin. The exact half-inch that her mother in Paris had taught her was the difference between a guest and a girl. And she walked. Minho was beside her in 3 steps. He took her hand, not the one with the hidden ring, the other one, and he put it formally on his forearm, the way men used to do at receptions 100 years ago. The gesture was old, and Yoon-soo noticed. Of course she noticed. "Imyeoni, my son." He bent to kiss his mother's cheek. Yoon-soo turned her face the millimeter that meant the kiss was received, not given. Then her eyes, calm and unhurried, walked the length of Amani's dress from the hem up. They paused at the hip. They paused at the waist. They arrived at last at the face. The smile came. It did not reach the eyes. Well, a small breath, the mouth set. "What a surprise! A colorful one!" Hyren's lips parted. Soft voice, almost concerned. "Such a brave choice, dear, for a first lunch." Amani let the silence stretch 1 beat longer than was comfortable. She felt Minho's arm under her hand. Steady, not tightening, not reacting. She let her own mouth lift at one corner. The half-smile of a woman who has been underestimated in 3 languages on 2 continents and finds it boring by now. "It's Givenchy," she said. Her voice was lower than they expected. "Spring." Yoon-soo's smile widened by a single degree. The way a blade comes a single degree out of its sheath. "Of course." She turned, perfect heel pivot on the polished stone. "Come, lunch is served." The doors opened on their own. Staff, gloved, invisible. Cold air poured out of the house onto the warm mountain morning. Amani crossed the threshold and felt the temperature drop 10 degrees in a single step. Behind her, very softly, she heard Hyren murmur something in Korean to her sister-in-law that she was not meant to catch. Minho caught it. His jaw did not move. His hand, under hers, pressed her fingers once. "Until the coffee," he whispered. She walked into the dining room of a family that did not yet know her last name was already theirs. The dining room was a cathedral of restraint. A long table of dark walnut stretched under a chandelier of thin brass rods, each bulb the size of a thumbnail, the light deliberately cold. White orchids stood in low black vases, spaced like punctuation marks. The plates were bone china rimmed in a thread of gold, so thin it looked like a rumor. Amani sat where Yoon-seo placed her, with the mountain at her back through a wall of glass, the pine trees pretending to be witnesses. Minho took the chair across from her. He did not look at his mother. He looked at Amani once, briefly, and rested his right hand on the table where she could see it. The fresh gold band caught the cold light. He did not hide it. He did not flaunt it. He simply let it exist. The way a man lets a loaded weapon rest in plain sight on a tablecloth, knowing the room will eventually notice on its own time. Amani kept her own ring turned inward. Her left hand rested in her lap under the linen napkin, palm up, the band pressed against her thigh like a secret pulse. They had agreed in the car. Let them swing first. Let them tire themselves. The paper was in his inside pocket. Folded once, the official seal pressed into the corner. The civil registry of the Republic of Korea did not care which mother approved. Hyren began the way she always began, with sugar. "Amani, see, you must tell us about Paris. Minho says you studied there. Such an interesting choice for a young woman from a delicate pause, a sip of tea, a family in the Americas." Amani lifted her water glass. The emerald sleeve of her dress slid an inch up her wrist. She smiled with her mouth only. "Paris was kind to me. I learned cut first, fabric second, ego last. The 3rd lesson is the hardest. Most students never get to it." Yoon-soo's eyes flickered. Not a smile, a registration. The American girl could volley. That was inconvenient. Hyren tried again, softer, the blade angled lower. "And the family business?" "Carter, yes, I have heard the name. Real estate, was it?" "Hospitality, finance, fashion. My grandfather started with one building in Atlanta. We are on the 4th generation now. My line is fashion. I run the studio in Paris, the showroom in Milan, and I am opening Seoul next spring. Minho's mouth did not move, but the corner of his eye warmed. Amani felt it across the table the way you feel the sun shift through a window without looking up. The first course arrived. Thin slices of abalone arranged like coins on a black slate, a clear broth scented with pine nut. Amani lifted her chopsticks with the indifference of a woman who had eaten in better rooms and worse, and had learned the difference was rarely the food. Hai-Rin tried the third angle. She set her teacup down with a small, precise click. Such ambition, and so much color in your work. I saw your last collection in a magazine. The orange, the green, very brave choices. Here, we tend to prefer a quieter palette. More refined, perhaps, more appropriate. Amani eats her chopsticks across her plate. She turned her head slowly toward Hai-Rin and let the silence stretch one beat past comfort. Then she spoke as if she were offering a small, free lesson to a student who had not paid tuition. Color is not noise, Hai-Rinimo. Beige is not refinement. Beige is what you wear when you are afraid of being seen. Refinement is choosing exactly the shade that says the thing you mean and standing inside it without apology. Anyone can disappear into a room. The discipline is in not disappearing. The clink of Minho's water glass against the wood was the only sound. He had set it down on purpose. He was telling the room he had heard her. He was telling the room he agreed. Hai-Rin's smile did not survive intact. It cracked at the corners and rebuilt itself badly. She reached for her tea and drank to give her hands something to do. Yoon-soo watched her sister-in-law fold and did not rescue her. She let Hai-Rin sit in the loss for a full breath. Then she pivoted the table herself, because she was the matriarch in public, and public was where the wound had to be made. She set down her chopsticks. She folded her hands on the edge of the table. She looked at Amani the way a surgeon looks at tissue. The dress is striking, truly. Such a bold green against the smallest tilt of her head, the smallest gesture toward Amani's collarbone, her cheek, her arm. Your complexion. In our family, the women have always favored softer tones, closer to the skin. It photographs better at the temple ceremonies. The ancestors prefer harmony. The temperature in Amani's chest dropped a full degree. The word complexion sat on the table between them like a coin. Nobody wanted to pick up. This was not about Paris anymore. It was not about Carter money or Milan showrooms or the angle of a hemline. It was about the thing underneath the dress, the thing she had been born inside and could not take off. For the first time in the meal, Amani did not have an answer ready. Her tongue pressed against the back of her teeth, her left hand under the napkin closed into a fist around the inward-turned ring. The metal bit into her palm. She let it bite. At the head of the table, Halmione had not spoken a word the entire lunch. She sat upright in her sober beige hanbok, the jade brooch on her chest, catching one pinpoint of chandelier light. She had been watching her tea, then her plate, then the orchids. Now she lifted her eyes and looked, for the first time, directly at Amani's left hand under the napkin. The napkin had slipped a half-inch. The band was visible, turned inward, fresh, gold. Halmine's eyes traveled across the table to her grandson's right hand resting on the wood, the matching band catching the same cold light. She held there one breath, two. Her face did not move, but something behind her eyes did. The old woman had understood the whole game in silence, and now she was the second person in the room holding the secret, and the only one in the room with the rank to end it. She picked up her tea, she sipped. She set it down. She said nothing yet, but she was no longer watching the orchids. She was watching Yoon-soo. Yoon-soo set down her chopsticks with the precision of a woman closing ledger. "Coffee on the terrace," she said. It was not an invitation. Hai-Rin rose first, the jade pendant catching the cold light. Halmione remained seated a beat longer than the others, her dark eyes drifting from Amani's left hand to Minho's jaw and back. Then she stood without sound and followed her daughter out. The terrace ran the length of the eastern wing, stone underfoot, a low black iron railing, pine trees stepping down the mountain in disciplined rows. The air was colder here, the kind of cold that clarified things. A housekeeper had already arranged a lacquered tray on the round glass table, 6 small porcelain cups, a silver pot, a plate of red bean cakes nobody would touch. Amani took the chair facing the mountain. Minho took the one beside her. Their knees did not touch, but the distance between them had been measured. Yunsu poured. She poured Halmioni's cup first, then Hiren's, then her own. The 4th cup she filled and slid across the glass to Minho. The 5th she lifted herself and placed in front of Amani, last. "You take it black, I assume." "Yes," Amani said. "Most American women add sugar." "I'm not most American women." Hiren smiled into her cup. Minho's hand moved toward his inner pocket. Amani felt it more than saw it. She pressed her knee once against his under the table. Not yet. The hand returned to the armrest. Halmione had not spoken since the dining room. She lifted her cup with both hands, the old way, and watched the steam rise. Her eyes did not leave Amani. "Minho," Yunsu said, stirring nothing into her coffee. "Have you and the bride-to-be discussed children?" The word landed like a stone in still water. Amani's wedding band, still turned inward against her palm, pressed a thin line into the skin of her finger. She did not look at Minho. She looked at the mountain. "We have time," Minho said. "Time is the only thing this family does not have an excess of." Yunsu lifted her cup. "Your father waited. Your grandfather waited." The Kang name carries weight that does not divide itself patiently across generations. "I'm aware of the weight." "Are you also aware the face it will wear?" The silver pot ticked once as it cooled. Amani turned her head slowly. Yunsu was not looking at her son. Yunsu was looking at her. "A child of this house," Yunsu continued, voice low enough that the wind almost took it, "will sit at boards, at temple, at funerals beside ministers. Photographs will be printed in newspapers that have printed this family for 4 generations. The face matters." Hiren set her cup down softly. "Yunseo Ani, let me finish." She did not raise her voice, she never did. There are things a mother is permitted to say once. I am saying mine now. Amani's hand was steady on the porcelain. She had trained it to be steady at 13, the first time a teacher had asked her to read aloud from the back of a classroom in a small voice. Her hand had not shaken then either. Yunsu turned the cup in her saucer 1/4 of a turn. Then she leaned forward slightly, the pearls at her neck catching, and she spoke the line in a voice meant for one listener only. "Dark skin won't fit this family." The cold on the terrace stopped moving. Amani did not lift her cup. She did not set it down. She held it exactly where it was, 6 inches above the saucer, and the porcelain did not tremble. She felt the breath leave her chest in a single slow line and did not allow another one in. The mountain in front of her went very quiet, the pines very still, the morning light on the stone very pale. She did not look at Minho. If she looked at him, she would know what his face was doing. And if she knew what his face was doing, she would have to decide whether to let him answer. She had already decided that she would not let him answer. Not yet. She thought very clearly of her grandmother in Atlanta, a woman who had carried groceries home through a neighborhood that had once burned, a woman who had taught her to walk into a room and choose the chair facing the door. Her grandmother had a phrase, "Some people will tell you who they are. Believe them the first time." Amani believed her. She lowered the cup. She did not drink. She placed it precisely in the center of the saucer, and the small porcelain sound it made was the only sound on the terrace. "I see," she said. That was all. She did not cry. She did not argue. She did not raise her voice or her glance. She kept her hands in her lap, and her wedding band turned inward and her eyes on the row of pines. Hiren's mouth had opened slightly and then closed again. Her teacup gentleness had no script for a woman who refused to break. Minho was very still beside Amani. She could feel his pulse in the air between them, a thing she had learned to read in the 2 months they had known each other. His hand had returned slowly to his inner pocket. She pressed her knee against his a second time. Wait. Halmagoni had set her cup down. She had not made a sound, but her sharp, dark eyes had moved, finally away from Amani, and they had settled on her own daughter. Not on Yoonsu's mouth, on Yoonsu's hands. The old woman's lips parted, the smallest breath, as if she were about to speak, and then she did not. She closed her mouth, folded her thin hands in her lap, and looked across the table at Amani, with an expression Amani could not yet read. Something was being decided behind those eyes, something that had been waiting 55 years to be decided. Yoonsi lifted her cup again, satisfied, and took a small, slow sip. Minho's fingers brushed the edge of the folded paper inside his jacket. Minho rose. He did not push the chair back roughly. He stood the way he always stood, slowly, deliberately, as if the room belonged to him before he even claimed it. The dragon tattoo on his neck slid a fraction beneath the open collar of his graphite gray shirt. Yoonsu lowered her cup. Sit, son. The coffee is still warm. He did not sit. He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of cream paper, sealed with the dark stamp of the civil registry. He did not raise his voice. He never raised his voice. He walked the length of the long table and stopped at the empty space beside his mother's plate. He placed the paper on the linen, smoothing the fold with 2 fingers. You called her my fiancée. Yoonseo did not look down at the paper. That is what she is. That is what she was. Yesterday afternoon, at 3:12 in the city, he tapped the seals once. This is what she is now. Hiren set her cup back on the saucer too quickly. The porcelain clicked. She glanced at her sister-in-law and then at the document. Her thin lips parted, closed again. The little jade ring on her finger caught the cold light and held it there, useless. Halmione did not move. She watched Minho's hand on the paper. She watched her daughter's bob of jet black hair, perfectly cut, perfectly still. Then she looked at Amani. At the wedding band turned outward now, sparkling in plain view above the green silk of her dress. Yoonsu finally lowered her eyes to the registry seal. Her fingertips brushed the corner of the paper the way a woman touches a hot pot to test if it burns. It burned. Minho, read the name. Minho, this is. Read the name on the paper, mother. The room held its breath. Amani did not breathe either. She kept both hands flat on the linen, the way Minho had told her to, 3 nights ago in the dark of his apartment. Whatever they say, do not lift a hand. Let them be the ones who lift theirs. Yoonsu read it without reading it. She already knew. Her voice came out small for the first time that afternoon. Amani Carter. Amani Kang. Since 3:12 yesterday. The aunt drew in a sharp, small breath. The maid in the corner did not move. Outside, a single bird crossed the pine line and disappeared. Then Halmione spoke. She did not raise her voice either. She did not need to. The old woman set down her silver chopsticks, folded her napkin into a precise square, and laid both hands flat on the table, exactly as Amani had done 2 minutes before. Yoonsu, 1 word. The temperature in the room dropped a full degree. Yoonsu, look at me. The mother turned her head with effort, the way a stone turns. The bob shifted. The pearls shifted. Her eyes did not shift fast enough. You spoke of skin at my table. Yoonsu's mouth opened. Halmione lifted 1 finger. It was enough. You spoke of skin at my table in front of my grandson's wife, while I drank coffee in my house. Do you know whose tongue you used? Silence. Your father's tongue. Not mine, not the Kang tongue, his. The man I buried with relief. She turned her face to Amani. The old woman's dark eyes had not dimmed at all. The white hair caught the cold light through the tall windows and gave it back as something warmer. Granddaughter Amani's chin lifted. One word in that voice, and her shoulders set the way they had set. The first time she walked a Paris runway at 22, and nobody clapped because nobody had to. Hermione, you will sit at this table whenever you wish. You will not ask. The chair belongs to you now. She turned the jade brooch at her chest a quarter inch. A small, old gesture, the way the matriarchs of her line had marked decisions for 90 years. Minho, sit beside your wife. The coffee is cold. Pour fresh. He sat. He poured. He did not look at his mother. Nobody looked at his mother now. Amani lifted her cup. Her hand was steady. She tasted the coffee, bitter, hot, exactly right. She set the cup down and finally answered the question that had been left on the table 40 minutes ago. I didn't need to win, she said. Quiet even, almost kind. I was already enough before I walked in. Yoonsu's eyes glistened. She did not let the tear fall. The pearls on her neck moved with one short swallow. Minho's hand found Amani's wrist under the table. He squeezed once. We leave in the morning. Hermione nodded as if she had known this for years. Where? Maldives. 2 weeks, private water villa. She picked it. Good. Go. Breathe air that has not been used by this woman. The aunt did not finish her coffee. The mother did not finish hers either. The morning came clean and blue. The black jet waited on the private strip with its stairs already down. Amani walked across the tarmac in a red silk blouse and white tailored trousers, dark glasses lowered, leather handbag swinging once at her hip. The wedding band caught the sun. Minho walked one step behind her, long black overcoat moving in the airstrip wind, the coiled dragon visible above his open collar. He kissed the top of her head at the foot of the stairs. She paused before climbing. She looked back once at the dark line of mountains where the mansion sat hidden behind pine. She has 2 weeks, Amani said, to try to get over it. She climbed the stairs without waiting for the answer. The jet door sealed behind them with a soft, expensive sound. Inside the mansion, on the long table, the registry paper still lay beside an untouched cup of cold coffee. Nobody had moved it. Nobody dared. If you want to watch all the stories without any ads and also get access to bonus scenes, extended epilogues, and exclusive spicy chapters, head over to our Patreon. Scan the QR code on the screen. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment. See you there. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever walked into a room that was built to make you smaller and chosen not to shrink? Have you ever carried a truth in your pocket while the people around you spoke about you as if you weren't already the answer? Who, in your life, turned out to be the silent grandmother, the one nobody expected to defend you? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, color, and silent revelation, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.